I'm Al McFarlane. Welcome to Conversations with Al McFarlane. Glad to be here and glad to have you along. We're continuing our conversation with artists in the community and in the world. I'm so fascinated when I contemplate the creative genius, the will, the spirit, the motivation to be a creator in the world, the trust that artists bring to their indwelling um, uh, what is it thoughts, their indwelling sensibility, and the bravery, the courage that they exhibit in bringing uh, that which one could say is unknown into the knowable world in the form of art, organization, relationships. Well, we have decided to keep this conversation going for the next several weeks. And our goal is to talk to artists here around the country and around the world to create and afford them an opportunity to explain what they do, their passion, how they do what they do, and what the end game is for them as they see it and as they choose to say it. And we hope to come to have as a companion strategy the presentation of some of their works of art on the cover page of Insight News. Last week we had a cover photograph of Setu Jones. His exhibit was at the Homewood Studios Gallery around the corner from me here in North Minneapolis. It comes down, I think, today or yesterday, but we promoted that and had a chance to talk about Setu's work. We want to do that with other artists, present their work, their ideas, not just the visual artists, but uh, poets, writers, communicators, healers. I call artists healers. So, with that, let me welcome my friends and colleagues, both Charles Caldwell, who's here in Minneapolis, and my cousin, and a guy that I just admire and have always admired, Robert A. Powell, who is with Portfolio in St. Louis. Robert, let me start with you. How you doing, cousin?
I'm doing well. Thank you for all those glowing words toward the artist. You make us realize that we are important. Yeah.
I think there's no other way to say it. I think art is the salvation of humanity, the bravery, the ability to discern, to see, not just to look, but to see, and to see the inner workings of things, of relationships between people. I think it's amazing. And that's what artists do from my point of view. I marvel, Robert, at hearing artists describe the process. So you're a sculptor
Yeah.
and you work in wood. I know that. But
Right.
let me ask you, when you're doing a sculpture, what's going on in your mind and with your hands, with your body, as you're interacting with a piece of wood? What's the inspiration and to what end? How does it work?
Well, the inspiration for me is based on my philosophy of positive motivation through art. And what I've tried to do and name pieces that I create is to project a positive message. Uh, One of my pieces is called Roads of Life, and it's a abstract pieces, no image on it, but just a series of roads. And I say on the roads of life, for the most part, it has been good, wonderful for me. And yet, when I turn on the TV, most often we're talking about the bad things as opposed to saying, what good happened? We found a cure for COVID. We did this, we did that. Why not promote those things into our mind as opposed to some of the negative things or the things that can be said and you realize that, well, that's not good. You know, when they talk about all the medicines that you could take. And yet, yeah, that I guess help, but are you willing to take all those risks? So my art is about telling a story. My latest piece I call Perception. I realized that uh, everything is a perception. Where are you coming from? Are you seeing things as I see them, or are you seeing things as your life experiences have dictated them and made real? So that's always what I'm trying to do. Make people think about something that is good. And I say, for the most part, my life has been wonderful, except for losing, Big Mama,
Mhm.
Dad,
Our
my
grandparents.
mom,
Mhm.
my dad, my brother, those things that everyone goes through, you know. But I came up with this thought of comparing myself to people on earth
Hmm.
as opposed to those I can name or those I hear about. But on earth, I'm probably doing pretty damn good. You know, as if I had to give up my spot, that line to get my spot back would be, you know, immeasurable.
Mhm.
And so I'm not satisfied, but I am thankful to be living and doing the things that I'm doing.
When you're doing the actual creation, doing the sculpting of the art, what's happening in both your brain, your mind, your spirit, your hands? How does that work? How do you feel doing
Well,
sculpture?
well, I feel like the Creator is working through me.
Mhm.
It's allowing me to tell a story. Uh, I feel, you know, an inner peace. I can actually say that once doing my art, I had an out of body experience. I mean, I saw me carving, I was above me. Now, it's only happened once,
Mhm.
but I will debate that till the day I die that I did have that. And I recall, observing me creating.
Mhm.
And that was what I'm searching for again, this just getting lost in this piece, you know. And often, even when I complete a piece and people might compliment me, I say, yeah, but you should have saw what I was trying to do. You know, that's I just couldn't get no more out of it, at that particular time. And so I stopped and, I look at pieces around the house now that I still have in my collection. And I am sometimes tempted to go back into it and
Mm.
and see it with different eyes than I saw it when I was creating it. But it's a wonderful feeling to be able to create something that is you can't find anywhere else. I'm creating the only one like this in the world. I mean, that's what you really have to think. And
Mhm.
when people often ask me that, I've made it a little joke, well, is your artwork expensive? And they probably said that to Brother Caldwell. And I always feed them like, you mean for the only one on earth? And I let them answer that, But expensive is relative,
Right.
Yeah, I don't know what you call expensive. I know what I call expensive. So I feel great. It's a wonderful feeling to be able to bring something into reality, a thought that you're trying to convey, and hopefully you're able to do that.
I describe writing the same way, cousin. When I'm involved in writing something, you get lost. You
Mm-hmm.
lose yourself. I get lost in the keystrokes on the keyboard, and it's like the fingers are moving and are delivering the ideas out of my head or out of my spirit, but I'm almost watching it happen. I'm
Mm-hmm.
both doing it and witnessing it being done. And I think the way you described it is the way I feel it and understand it. It's kind of an out of body experience. It's a wonderful experience. And I think that when I talk to musicians, I always ask them the same question. How do you feel? Do you get lost when you're on stage? Does the whole room change? Does
Right.
something transformative go on? And they have variations on that theme. Let me bring Charles Caldwell in. Brother Charles, good afternoon, brother. How you doing, man? Good to see you.
Hello, Thomas.
Unmute. Now, maybe his bandwidth out of Charles, we're not hearing you. I think you're frozen on our screen. So you might need to sign off and sign back in.
He said something about unmute. I don't know if he mute.
I think he's the mute symbol's on the screen here. So and I think he's not moving. So I think that his computer probably is frozen. So you might just click out and then click back in. But let's keep talking. You're from you and your older brother Lonnie Powell, to me, are just celebrated master artist. Lonnie the painter, and how do you two guys either complement each other or compete or support each other or inspire each other? I know that your work and his work both are inspired and inspiring. And they are so because they are the definition of beauty. That's the one thing you can describe them with is beauty. They're beautiful, and that's they are what the word beauty means from my point of view as a observer, a fan. How do you guys work together? How do you relate as artists?
Well, I think we relate very well. I certainly take direction from my brother, who is the first artist in the Piles. I came along later as defining myself as an artist. But I think he and I have spent the last 30 years here in Missouri trying to make art important and a part of the conversation. So we work together, and certainly he's been one of the cornerstones when I'm putting on exhibits around the country. That Lonnie has always been there for me, so it's no competition. I mean, if I had to concede who's the best, if we got into one of those, that's no contest in my mind, my perception, what I understand. So Lonnie is always, I call Lonnie my brother daddy. Our dad died when I was in the 6th grade. He must have been in the 9th grade. And but Lonnie always brought things home to the family. He tried to share. You probably recall he was even drawing in those days when you grew up at the big house. So he's been my friend, my motivation. I just kind of backdoored into art, and somehow it kept going. And here I am 33 years later with an organization, that he has helped, as well as many other artists, has helped me keep open.
How did art come to you? That's a great story. You say you backdoored into it. How did the calling grab you, catch you, bring you in? What happened? Is there an epiphany type moment, or was there a gradual process that simply kept calling you to where you finally understood this is who I am and what I must do?
I got into art right after I got out of the military, even though there were some signs of it then. I was doing some abstract things. But when I got out of the military and started teaching industrial arts, now I'm in Alameda, California, Oakland, San Francisco area. And the activism was there. searching for an identity. This was probably 73, 74. And so I started teaching industrial arts in the Oakland public schools. And then I started doing carving of the bowls by hand, as opposed to turning them on the lathe. You know, you got 22 kids and everybody, and you got 2 lathes. It takes forever to get your turn on the lathe. So we kind of moved away from traditional bookends and bookshelves and started carving. We actually did some drawings on wood and then chiseled them out and did relief carvings. And then after leaving public schools, I just kept doing it because I had entered a couple of art contests and, you know, there locally, and got a first place ribbon over here, and second there. And I am a true believer that people do what they have success at. If they have some success and a good feeling from it, they'll keep doing it. And that's what I did with the art. So I started carving more and more and more, and got here to Missouri, still doing art. 10 years after I got here, I founded Portfolio. 5 years after founding Portfolio, the organization received the Missouri Arts Award, which is the highest you can receive in the state of Missouri. And 5 years, maybe 8 years after that, we received Excellence in Art from the Arts and Education Council, one of the big organizations here. So I'm searching for the NEA grant, you know. How do I get into that circle of organizational support, you know? So that's how I kind of got into art. I got into it by doing, and it felt good to me. I developed a philosophy, as I said, of positive motivation through art. So I tried to tell stories, and, you know, I don't know, you know, just using today's grammar, I don't know that I'm blessed. I know that I am thankful. I know what thankful is. And every day I get up and I thank, you know. Blessed is what somebody else kind of puts on you. But to be thankful, I don't think you necessarily have to be blessed. And they're not the same word. You know, people want to say that's the same. Nah, that's not the same. Right. So I'm thankful that I've had the opportunity to pursue and make a living. You know, I haven't had a job as such. I've been working in this organization for 33 years, you know. And I've not called my cousin Al and said, Al, give me $500, man. You know, I'm trying to figure out how to do it, you know. And so, you know, art is a wonderful thing. And I don't think people have ever looked at art like this, Al. Mm-hmm. You can't spell earth without art. You can't have a heart without art.
Whoa.
Yeah, think about it.
Yeah.
You can't have a party without art. Art is ingrained, it's there in front of us, but we have to recognize it and see the power in it. You know, that seeing nice things that are in your home, office, wherever they happen to be, how they can motivate you, you know.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. I'm Al McFarlane. This is Conversations with Al McFarlane. That's the voice of Robert A. Powell, the founder of Portfolio in St. Louis, Missouri, a sculptor, an artist, and my first cousin, and one of the many that I both adore and look up to and Robert and his older brother Lonnie, master artist. Robert is a sculptor, Lonnie is a painter, both doing award-winning work. And I think inspiring the family, inspiring the community, and inspiring humanity. Let me bring in my dear friend down the street and around the corner, Charles Caldwell, neighbor of mine here in North Minneapolis. Brother Caldwell, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Good to see you again.
Yes, sir.
Every time we talk, it's a good feeling. It's a good thing. And Charles, Robert, I really think that us having conversations like this is healthy for the community, healthy for us, for me as a person, as a journalist, as a writer. But I think the witness of the three of us, the 5 to 10 of us talking about art and creativity is healing for the community, for the listeners here on KFAI, and those who might be checking us out from around the country or around the world at Black Press USA or at the Inside News Facebook page. So I thank you for what you do and for the beauty that you bring. Robert, I was telling Charles that I interviewed his wife last week. I think it was before last. His daughter. I think was it one daughter or two daughters I interviewed. I think it did
one so far.
One daughter, and the Caldwell family, like the Powells, don't quit. They just keep bringing it and bringing it and bringing it, and they are the epitome of creative genius and fortitude, integrity, and accomplishment, capability. So, Charles, good to see you again, brother.
Oh, it's always good to see you, Al. I really appreciate this and this opportunity. And Brother Powell, I'm just sitting here feeling like I'm having a out-of-body experience just listening to you talk because you're talking my thoughts. So, great minds think alike. And I really appreciate everything that you said and can relate to a lot of it. Just when you said the out-of-body experience, I can recall one night I was in my studio space at about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, working on some pieces. I'm a realist, so I do a lot of portraiture art, but at this particular time, I was doing some abstract works and just got so evolved into just creating something out of my mind of the unseen visual process. And man, I just separated completely from the space and got above and was looking at it. And it was just so pure and uninhabited other than myself that it brought fear to me. It was so awesome and powerful. It made me feel like I was in a place that I could be. And I was scared to get caught in that space at that time because I had so much responsibility going on in my life and around me with family and all that. So I came back and I'm still searching for that space again too. But that creative being, it often is amazing to me when I finish a piece of artwork and stand on the other side and look at it. I always tell people I can stand on the other side of this artwork and I'm looking at it like you are. I'm excited. I'm amazed. It's unbelievable. And then I have to say, wow, you created this, but I give the creation to the higher power that be, because it's just something that comes through me. And I'm so thankful to be entrusted with such a great responsibility to leave a history behind that speaks about us as people that inhabited this earth at this time. So my inspiration comes from everyday life, comes from family experiences, comes from friendships, comes from just conversation, just encounters, and just comes from the moment. A lot of times the moment takes place and you can never capture it again. And us as artists having that extra thing that we can visualize and think about how we can make this visual gives us that extra sense of being able to take something that's a moment and make it a lifetime. So I love art. I love the fact that I am an artist. I love what I see that has blossomed and grown in my life from being an artist. My children have taken on the instinct, the family genes, as you would call it, the respect and the ability to be artists and create themselves and just believe they can because they know they can. They see it. it's their experience. I watched a video on Facebook this morning that my daughter posted of her 3.5-year-old, almost 4-year-old daughter doing an little art class off of the video, and I looked at this drawing, and it's just so perfect, and her little voice speaking about what she's doing and how she's creating, and it just touched my heart with so much love and inspiration, because this thing is just so generational.
Right.
And I just do and just be. I don't tell them to do it, or they just do it. And it's just amazing of the layers of creativity that has been inspired by me being an artist. And, I've worked the jobs and, did the things that I needed to do to provide and support my family. And I will continue to do that. But right now, my life is in a place that I can be an artist. And I don't ever want to leave this place again. So I'm doing some great things, seeking some great opportunities. The thing about getting in, being an artist in the business aspect of it is you got to have an understanding about selling products, but not just selling a product, but just I mean, if you got to be prolific. I mean, you can do up one great piece and sell it, but you got to be able to make it from there. And if you don't have anything, it's hard to make it from there. So there's a certain, I used to go on the road and do art shows, and I'd get to a convention center and there'd be 20, 30,000 people. And I brought a lot of copies. So I may bring 300-400 copies of work. And you sell half of that or a percentage of that, and then it's gone. And I look at the guys that maybe come or want to go on the road, ask me how can they get on the road, and I'll look and I said, well, do you have any inventory? And they said, well, I got 10 or 15 pieces. Well, 10 or 15 pieces ain't going to take you very far out there on the road if you're trying to create an opportunity of being in business as an artist. So there's a lot of process that's involved with it. And so I like to try and talk to artists about those different processes where they can take a great piece of work, turn it into a reproduction, and it creates some room for opportunities. Now, there's certain type of art that, as my brother, Mr. Powell here does wood carving, that's, as he says, is one uniqueness of that piece and that process. So it's a little different process than creating a drawing or a painting where you can actually take it to a print shop or go through a reproduction process and have them redo it over and over again for you. So this is, and you can, as an artist, you can work as far as designing logos, doing commission works. There's a lot of different areas that artists can cultivate to develop a business opportunity, to bring in monetary opportunity. And so, I like to talk about that and share that with artists as I come into relation to them. Just some of the things that I have learned over the years that helps you stretch out that creative process to get to that special creative place that you're trying to get to. Every time I sit down and start the creative process, it's a different feeling because it's something that I want to go farther than I did the time before. So when I'm working on a piece, like you said, Brother Powell, is how do you let go and say, okay, that's it, I'm done. I've done enough. I got a great piece of work that I did at Dr. Martin Luther King in 1986. It's a pencil drawing, and at some point in time, I'd like to show some of the works. But this piece, I'd look at this piece, and each time I do, I can look at it right now today and just feel satisfied that there is really nothing else that I would want to do to that piece of work. Because at that point in time, I did it, it was done, and it had reached this place of completion, which is a great feeling because how do you know you're done? And so that moment comes in working on pieces. When I take on a commission for someone, and a lot of times we get into a negotiation of a price, and I just say to the potential client that the price really doesn't dictate the quality of the work. If I tell you that I want $25,000 for this work and we agree on $10,000, you're not going to get $10,000 worth of work. You're going to get the $25,000 worth of work that I intentionally felt in my discussion in the process. So it's how do you price an art? How do you price an art piece? They say art is expensive. Expensive to when something is just for you. That's priceless. How do you put a price on that? If I create something that's just special for you and it costs $1, what's the pricelessness to you on that when you say to someone, look at this, I just paid $1 for this.
Mhm.
You know, it's a priceless experience that takes place.
They start bragging because they got it. They know it's worth more than that.
Yeah.
How they say that? Yeah.
Yeah, they'd say, hey, you know, and so, I mean, when I think about where I started drawing stick people as a kid. And so when I think about drawing stick people and look at me drawing real life portraits today, I mean, you could see the spirit and the soul, because that's what I try to capture. That's the connection I try to have in creating a piece of personal artwork. And it's amazing to me as an artist. It's an awesome feeling to be a person that can look at something blank, a blank canvas, a blank piece of wood, you know, and look at that and see a beautiful creation that you're going to get to, and you get to it and you do it. And it's like, it's amazing. When my wife and I stand and I try to describe a project to her and I said, this is what I'm going to do. And now her contribution to the communication is, I don't see it. I can't see it. So I said, okay, I can't explain something to you that you can't see in my words. So when I'm done, I'll show you what it is. So it's amazing. It truly is amazing to watch the kids. It's amazing, like you said, Brother Powell, is that when I started to get respect and appreciation and encouragement from the community and from the people around me, it felt good. And I knew it was something good that I needed to continue to do, continue to cultivate, and to continue to make life better for myself and the people around me. So it's just been an awesome experience to be the artist that I am and the artist that I am becoming today. There's no boundaries to creativity, and there's no limitations. And if you can create something great, just think of how greater you can create the greatness that you've created so far. So
Robert, Charles's daughter had on. So on Wednesdays every week, I've been doing a series of a podcast and webcast featuring entrepreneurs. And I've been in partnership with a group called the Black Women's Wealth Alliance, BWWA. And BWWA has a project called the B Marketplace, BEE Marketplace. I said, what's a bee? Well, these are all queen bees, right? Sisters, Black women that are queens in their own right and entrepreneurs. And Charles's daughter is part, and his wife are part of the marketplace this year. So I've interviewed them both in the course of over the period of 8 weeks, interviewing all of the women entrepreneurs who are in the B marketplace. It's a digital or virtual marketplace, and that started just before Christmas and going into right now the end of January and the beginning of Black History Month. And I learned so much, and I thought of, as you were speaking, Charles, I'm going to be your daughter that was on, among other things, designs shoes.
yes.
She designs and creates shoes, right? And
Yes,
so I'm ordering some shoes from her. I'm so impressed with what she's doing, her creativity. So I'm going to order custom-made shoes from her. These will be like tennis shoes. I think they're called sneakers to start with, a high top. She said she made you a high top, Charles, and
yes,
some low tops. So I said,
Yep.
well, if Charles got it, I'm going to get it. And so I'm going to be buying. So what's the point, though? The point is the buying. The point is, how do we become more intentional in doing business with each other? How do we practice valuing and not devaluing or being dismissive of our gifts? How do we, first of all, as the artist creators, number one, and Robert, I got this from your mom, Auntie Ola. I call her Auntie Ola. Your mom would always tell us, you got to value who you are and value what you do, value your work, value your time. And so how do we teach and encourage and remind our people to think about our individual and therefore collective value? to think that what we think and what we do, what we see, what we know, where we have been and where we are going, all have meaning, have purpose, and have value. And so create a system of recognizing that every breath that we experience is a reflection of the value that we bring into creation. And how do we use that to create commerce between us? How do we create added value for each other? And so I love having this conversation, Robert and Charles, because one of my side agendas is that somebody listening right now, somebody watching right now will act on an impulse that he or she had. I should be buying Black art. I should be buying art, or I should be going to watch or going to see. I should be reading more. I should be doing this, but sometimes we find ourselves sidetracked and not doing what we know we should be doing to be our best selves. So I'm hoping that this kind of conversation leads somebody that's listening right now to decide they're going to look at the portfolio website and decide if there's something there they want to do business with to buy, or look at Charles Caldwell's website and decide that they want to buy from Charles Caldwell, but more importantly, to do the commerce with intention. That our intention is to grow each other by doing business. I'm in the business of the newspaper and putting information out that I think is of value and making it available to people free. The business proposition is that advertisers buy advertising in my newspaper to reach the eyeballs that I can deliver them. So it's a trade-off there, but it's about building commerce. By the way, the Black Women's Wealth Alliance, Robert, is headed by a sister named Kenya McKnight. I was on one of the Sykes family pages. There's several of them online. And I look at this page, and here's Kenya on our page. Now, Robert Powell and I are Sykes. Our mothers, who are sisters, name is Sykes, S-Y-K-E-S. They're from Sunflower, Mississippi. And so I go onto one of the Sykes websites and I see Kenya McKnight. So I see Kenya in the neighborhood. Kenya, what you doing on my family page? What you doing on my family page? We cousins, and didn't know it. Kenya and I are cousins,
That's amazing.
And I met Kenya the first time, Charles, when she first announced she was going to run for city council here in this neighborhood, North Minneapolis. I was a delegate active in the precinct caucuses around this time of the year, maybe 10 years ago. Yes. And she just walked up to me and said, Mr. McFarlane, I'm going to put my hat in the ring to be a candidate in this endorsing or in this precinct caucus. And I think it was precinct caucus, or it might have been the actual endorsing convention. Would you present me and speak on my behalf? I said, absolutely. And that's how we met. And so how did I know that she's my cousin? Right. We didn't discover till later on. It's a good thing. Robert, what do you think? What are you thinking about? Robert, jump in. What are thoughts on your mind?
To what you're speaking, just
anything. We take this this is an unscripted conversation, and take it wherever you want to go.
Well, I was going to say, as Brother Caldwell was speaking, that I certainly would like to see some of his art, and to invite you to, show with portfolio as we continue to make roadways into, the art arena.
I would love to accept that invitation. And then a way that you can see some work immediately, I do have a website up, and that website is ccaldwellfinearts.com.
Let me ask AZ, who's our producer here, to see if she can pull the website up, and maybe we can walk through it a little bit while we're on the air here.
That'd be great.
And the beautiful thing is that, we are seeing each other on social media, on Facebook or YouTube. Our listeners on radio are not. But here's the beauty of it. Our conversation is rich enough and powerful enough to paint pictures in the minds of the listeners. That's what we're doing right now. So go ahead, Charles. And AZ, if you can pull it up, go ahead and do it.
Yes, this website I've been working on for several months now, and I've finally gotten to a place where it's up and running. And so I'm pretty excited about that. It certainly gives an opportunity to reach a broader audience and a greater opportunity to introduce myself and my work to the world. So it's a site that is got about 60 images on it. It is created. What I wanted to do with this site is to make it affordable and accessible. So I have a collection of 11 by 14 art prints that are priced at $30.
No, we can't discuss price on this site. This is not
Okay.
commercial radio.
Okay, reject that.
Talk about the process, but not the price.
Yes, there's 11 by 14 prints that are available to the public or those that are interested.
And then, Robert, maybe we can also pull up Portfolio's website too. AZ, if you're listening, maybe you can pull up the Portfolio website as well. What is your
Portfolio Gallery STL.org.
Okay. Great. I'm Al McFarlane. This is Conversations with Al McFarlane, talking with Charles Caldwell here in Minneapolis and St. Paul, and with Robert A. Powell, the creator of Portfolio Studios, our Portfolio Art Gallery in St. Louis. And we're talking about creativity, about connectivity. Robert, one of the guests on last week was brother Douglas Ewart, and he was hoping to meet you last week because he wants to connect with St. Louis, right? So I told him you'd be here, just a question of when. So, but I'll put you guys together. But that's the beauty of this thing. Once we start talking, we find ways to collaborate and how to make things happen.
Right. No, and I've been exploring that idea that I dropped on the first time we met.
Mm-hmm.
You can set up a not-for-profit that is statewide, cross state lines. And I think the beauty of that would be that knowing Charles's skill, I need that skill in St. Louis as a grant writer or whatever we're going to do, muralist or whatever. We could interact. If you're looking for a great bronze sculptor, I know 3 or 4 of them here in Missouri that could do a project in Minneapolis because it's the same organization.
Right.
And we could apply for it. I think what scares people is how's the money going to come? And I think that's very easy to decide if you set up each one of them as have some independency, but yet be collective, So right. It just needs to be a conversation that I think I'm going to pursue more and more. How could we do that? Because I see grants all the time in New York, but I said, well, I can't even apply for that, but I think I have the narrative and the artists who could do those things, but we can't do it because we're not in New York. But if we were an organization, we could do that kind of thing. Wherever the grant possibility comes up, we could apply for it.
I like that idea. I certainly want to have that conversation with you.
Well, Robert, it was that comment in particular that inspired me to shift my programming for the next quarter to focus on art and artist, right? And so as opposed to that initial conversation that we had, which was excellent, I said, you know what, we can carry this conversation forward. So my intent, and I'm saying this for the benefit of our listeners here on KFAI and at kfai.org, and for the benefit of those who might be checking this out at Black Press USA or at the Inside News Facebook page or YouTube pages, if you resonate with this idea of collecting or being in a collective with other artists, love to have you weigh in, either by being a guest on this program or figuring out how do we get to some kind of an email or exchange where just your ideas. If we start talking to each other, the miraculous will occur. If we start sculpting, the end product will be a surprise to all of us. We start painting, right? We discover something that the process delivers itself. So I'm saying that in that spirit, hopefully we can start and are starting a conversation here on Conversations with Al McFarlane that might invite a number of artists from our world, not only in the United States, but in the Caribbean, South America, and in Africa or Europe, to talk about our collective experience, our collective vision, and the opportunity, the world that we can and will create. That's what I think. Robert, thoughts?
Yes, that's that certainly is the key. I always want to tap into you and McFarlane connection in Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
Should have artists going to Jamaica. I'm only scared I wouldn't come back. I mean, I working with them brothers down there. Those kind of things that we need to do more to interact, to really do what's going to bind us together, and make us better people. So yeah, I'm for working with people wherever they are. I think, as you said, you have to start talking first,
Mm-hmm.
and let's speak. You can't go on hearsay. Let's sit down and talk and see if we can come to an agreement of a road forward.
Charles, you're sitting back here in Minnesota, but you weren't here a day ago.
Hey, what a difference a day make. Less than 24 hours ago, I was in 81 degrees in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic.
Oh, that's good.
And I mean, and it's about 18 degrees around here somewhere, 18 to 20 degrees, and back home. And I tell you, it was very, very inspirational to be around our people. Our people all over the world is just, we're the same people. The language may differ just a little bit, but we are the same people of the same culture. And artists. There was artists on the beaches selling their paintings, and sculptors selling their wood carvings. And the couple that I spoke with were, it was amazing to see the work that they had done. These are works, that trinkets that we've seen over in America that travelers have brought back and forth, or maybe a shop or two here and there may carry some of the wood carvings or images of the paintings. But to just talk to these guys and just see their family, it's their family history. It's the generational gift of survival that they have and have nurtured and cultivated, and just was amazing time. Just the beauty of it all, and just the way of living and the way of life. And sometimes we take for granted that life is completely different in other places, and I can guarantee you it is completely different in other places. And you either can afford to live a certain way, or you have to live a certain way. And it was just the inspiration. I look for inspiration wherever I go. So I'm looking for an image, I'm looking for a visual, I'm looking for an experience. And so I had all of that. I had a lot of that. And also just took some time, as I told you, Al, the phone service was off when I got over there. And, we're not used to that. This thing right here has been a curse. I mean, it just connected to it. And so when I got back home and my messages started popping up, and I seen all the phone calls that I had missed and those things. And I guess, we just sometimes got to turn it off.
Mm-hmm.
And just connect with yourself. Give yourself some time. Life is short. It is very short. I mean, just the time that I've left for a week and came back, gotten 2 or 3 a relative and some friends have passed on and transitioned in life. Mm-hmm. And you just never know. You don't know. Tomorrow's not guaranteed to anyone. So I'm just coming off of that trip. I'm just trying to be rejuvenated, re-energized, and try to get to a place of completion and some things that I've been trying to do.
Well, one
And
thing that I brought it up for, Charles, was you said you met with some artists, and now you are able to connect with them and maybe figure out ways that you can collaborate.
Mhm.
And
yes,
that was the point of it. Now we can connect with each other directly instead of having to go through a third party.
right.
When I traveled to to Africa, the first couple of times I went, I think, or at least one of the several times I went, I traveled on Ghana Airways, and Ghana Airways was a direct nonstop flight from Washington D.C. or either New York. I'm not sure which one, New York, into Accra with a stopover in Dakar or something like that. But I had traveled previously and had to go to Netherlands
Mm.
and then to Africa. So the question is why?
Mm.
Why, if Africa is 3,000 miles that way, why do I have to go 5,000 this way and then 9,000 that way to get somewhere that's 3,000 miles away? Well, that's how the deal is set up. That's how they make the money on us until we figure out ways to connect and go direct. We'll keep paying. And
Wow.
so the lesson there is, how do we create pathways for our own financial benefit and engagement and the support that we can mean and be for each other? Robert, I was thinking also that my wife is from Crystal Springs, Mississippi. It's near Jackson, 20 miles south of Jackson. And we used to go there every summer, be a couple of times a year, even wintertime, Christmas, and sit on the porch of one of her sisters. And it's a cul-de-sac. We call it a cul-de-sac up here. It's a road there, right? And be sitting on the porch looking across the street, because there's a chicken coop across the street, and next to that, some dogs in a pen. And back in the days before I met her, her grandmother used to have a hog pen on the side of the house where they keep a hog, grow it, and slaughter it, and have a process. And there was a guy in the neighborhood who was the butcher, who was itinerant, right? He'd go and butcher everybody. He was the expert. That's what he did. He was the butcher, right? And so I told her that being in Crystal Springs, Mississippi, was just like being in Mild Gully, in Dreseke, in St. Mary's Parish in Jamaica, where my father's family is. My grandfather has property, small farm. They're peasant farmers, right? And but being in Dreseke, it's a town that had one light and one intersection, and our house was up the street from there, was just like being in Crystal Springs. And that was just like being in Accra, Ghana, in Cape Coast, Ghana. It was just like being in Uganda. It was just like being at 28th and Brooklyn in Kansas City, Missouri, where I grew up at the place that Robert Powell described as the big house. And that was the Powell house that his dad owned, that our entire family came through and lived in at one time or another. And so the point is that our experience is universal, global, and we end up being all the characteristics, the characters that create community, characters good and bad, characters that are high-minded and low-minded, characters that represent the best of humanity and the worst of humanity. It's all in the community, and it's all in all of us, I believe. But to be able to express that and to discover our similarity across the planet is a wonderful thing. And if it leads to us reestablishing a connection to who we are and relearning, remembering our own identity in the world, I think that will be the forward movement of humanity. That's what I think anyway.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop there and let you guys jump in on it, because I got more to say. But I love the chance to talk to artists, because I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, I think what you're saying and Caldwell said the same thing, the similarities. And if you just take the whole word and say family, that we're all family. We're,
Mhm.
we all have those same kind of life experiences growing up here in America. It's that way for those in Jamaica. You know, it's trying to find out how to be a full person with
Yep.
full rights. With you know, I often equate life to right now. It's like I went to the doctor and he gave me some pills, and I feel better maybe than my grandmother and grandfathers and all this. But I am not well. I want to be well and to be well and interact with the people in my family. I hate having to go outside the family. And the times that I have gone, I have found family within those corporations who have helped me, you know. So I am thankful for those kind of things. But it's all about working together. And I think that's what you were saying. Entrepreneurship. We can just do it. You know, it's illegal probably when we were in the college getting a haircut. You know, for 4 years, there's no barber cut my hair. You know, somebody who had that skill,
Right.
entrepreneur, just
Yeah.
we just don't have the financial support. Although I just heard that 2 billionaires have joined together to form some black bank. There's a black bank being formed. And I think it's the guy who gave away the money to
Roberts out of St. Louis, right? Is it Roberts?
oh
Not him?
no. This is the guy who gave the money to
Morehouse? Okay.
I think it's Robinson or something.
Okay.
But anyway, that's what it takes. And we expect that if we go to this bank, we get a good support.
Mm-hmm.
We should expect that if we're going to put our money in and thinking we're going to get a better shot. Yeah, that's what we need. We need financial support to do things in America.
Here we
And
go.
good ideals being uplifted and putting in the work for
Yeah.
change.
You guys give your email addresses, Robert and Charles, so that if somebody's listening and wants to reach out to you directly and personally, they can send you an email. Would that be okay, Robert?
Yeah.
So, and if I could give two.
Sure.
I've been having trouble with my portfolio gallery at att.net or Robert A. Powell 222 at gmail.com.
And my email address is ccardwell.anc@gmail.com. That's ccardwell.a as in Apple, N as in Nancy, C as in Charles @gmail.com.
Before we close, I want to acknowledge that our friend and co-host here, partner at KFAI, the Grand Diva, D. Henry Williams, called me after, I think it was last week's show or the week before, said, Al, great show, good conversation, but I saw 4 dudes on the screen, and where are the women? And so I want to acknowledge that I have been both challenged and reminded that we represent only half of us. And so I want to say to sisters who are artists, we'd love to have you join the program. And I think I do know that Brother Douglas Ewart sent me a list of women from around the country that he thought would be great to be part of this conversation. So as we move forward in the weeks ahead, I want to ensure that we bring Black men and Black women to this conversation about creativity, about art. Our intent is to change the narrative in our community. How do we create a vocabulary that reflects our appreciation for the beauty that is us, the beauty that we create, and the beauty that we bring into the world? How do we express and create a vocabulary that allows us to co-create a future, and that future is a future in which we win. I'm Al McFarlane. We'll see you next week. Robert, Charles, thank you so much.